Good morning and welcome to our first feedback forum for the Every Student Succeeds Act here at Wayne RESA. My name is Vanessa Kiesler. I'm Deputy Superintendent for the Division of Educators, Student and School Supports at the Michigan Department of Education. And we appreciate very much everyone joining us in the room as well as on the live stream, hopefully. We wanted to say thank you to Wayne RESA and their willingness to host us today, and all of the staff who are in the room and the excellent technical team who's making sure that we can record this and provide this information out. I wanted to thank all the MDE action team leads and staff who will be presenting throughout the day, and wanted to say thank you to the MDE ESSA communications team who made sure that we pulled together all these materials to go through with you today. We are very excited to be doing our feedback forums. We're excited to have the opportunity to share what we've been working on with ESSA. We have involved over 500 stakeholders in a development process, and this is our second round of feedback. We still have another one coming, but this is a very important developmental round, and we thank you for participating. For those in the room, you have the opportunity to share questions on your colored feedback cards. For those of you who might be watching on the live stream, you can send questions or comments to mde-essa, ESSA, at michigan.gov, and those will be displayed on the video feed as well. We'll be answering those throughout the day. Any questions we don't answer in person today will be used to develop our FAQ, which will be posted on our site. There will be 15-minute breaks between each session, and we'll let you know when we're done with each session. Those who are watching remotely will take that 15-minute break and come back to the content. And we are on a tight schedule, so I'm going to go ahead and get started today. Brief background on the Every Student Succeeds Act for those of you who might not be familiar. The ESSA reauthorizes the Elementary and Secondary Education Act and replaces the No Child Left Behind Act from 2001. And this reauthorization period lasts from 2017 to 2020. A couple big things about ESSA, or ESSA as we refer to it. It holds all students to high academic standards that prepare them for success in college and careers. It helps us ensure accountability and guarantees that when students fall behind, we take steps to help those students and their schools improve. We do have a particular focus still in ESSA on the very lowest performing schools, as well as schools with high dropout rates and schools where subgroups are falling behind. ESSA continues to ensure that we have annual assessments so that parents and educators have this information about how their students are doing. But there's also a focus in ESSA on reducing testing that is unnecessary or burdensome or redundant. And ESSA does a lot to empower state and local decision makers to develop their own systems for school improvement. Here's our journey. We have been on a month-long journey. Many of you who are in the room and watching have been part of that journey with us, and we appreciate that so much. This is just such an investment of stakeholder feedback and engagement. A lot of co-construction of ideas in here, so we're really excited that this process has allowed us to have a deep conversation around what we want to do to improve Michigan's schools for Michigan's children. Our journey really started with the strategic vision development, which came partly through the superintendent, or was based on the superintendent's work with his 10 in 10, Top 10 in 10 initiative and the listening tour he did there. And then 3 vision committees that we did, accountability, assessment, and funding. Those morphed into ESSA initial plan development, which is where we've been since about May, with this cycles of development and feedback. So I mentioned already we're on round 2 of feedback. We've been through one of these already. Really engaging stakeholders both in the development of the plan and reacting to the plan. We are coming into a time when we will be finalizing and submitting. The timeline is a little bit in flux. We had new regulations. The final regulations were released yesterday. So that gives us a little more time on submission until April. So we need to look at that and when we want to be done. But regardless, Michigan has developed this plan to support Michigan's goals. We have not developed it toward federal regulations or rules. We've looked at the 10 in 10 and asked ourselves, how do we need to use ESSA as an opportunity to support what we're doing as a state? So the timelines matter to the team that has to do the writing, matter to some of how much time we have for feedback, but in truth, we know that we're driving toward bigger goals than simply this plan submission. This is our graphic to display our structure of our work. Like I said, by our count, we think we are about 500 people who are actively engaged in our plan development, which is, if you ever tried to write a plan with 500 people, you can imagine that is an interesting challenge. But People have been really devoted in their willingness to engage with us in the process throughout our 9 action teams. We also have a tactical review committee and an external ESSA advisory committee. Some of you in the room, some of you watching sit on those committees, who have met with us every month to review proposals from the action teams and reflect to them. We work obviously with our internal ESSA leadership team, and then with the legislature, the governor, the state superintendent, and the state board of ed. The state superintendent is the final decision maker on many of the things in the plan. The plan gets submitted from the department to the U.S. Department of Education, but Superintendent Brian Whiston has also been clear that he wants to hear all the feedback he can on each of the proposals, and that he wants to do this collaboratively with our partners in the legislature, the governor's office, the board of ed. It's Michigan's plan toward our goals, so we need to be on the same page to be effective. So, what's our vision for making Michigan a top 10 state in 10 years? One of the things the superintendent heard, and we heard as a department when we went out and asked this, is that parents or the business community, community members say, you know, we want our children, we want our students, our employees to be able to be curious, to be problem solvers, to work independently, to be critical thinkers, to be able to achieve goals. So if we want this type of student coming out of our educational system, then we need classrooms that create opportunities for learning in these ways. We need educators who are prepared to support students in learning those skills, and we need assessments that measure whether or not students are ready for success in those areas. So our guiding principles as we went into the ESSA plan. At the core of our plan is the child. And note here we say child, not student, because we are truly looking at the P20 approach to the whole child. We want to understand and make sure at the center is their opportunity to learn, to access meaningful services to support their lives, and their ability to transition successfully into their experience after their PK-12 experience. Importantly, although ESSA brings or remains a focus on things like assessment, accountability, systems of support, professional learning funding, all of those things are not the end goal. They are vehicles to help us achieve our goals of becoming a 10 in 10 state. So the goal isn't to simply walk out of this process with an assessment system, but rather to make sure we have an assessment system that supports our 10 in 10 goals. Same thing for an accountability system, all of these pieces. Asking ourselves, how do we use the opportunities given to us in ESSA to move us forward as a state? So our theory of action, with the learner at the center, we can leverage the supports and resources of not only the Michigan Department of Education, but a wider range of organizations, so that we can provide this high quality targeted supports to those most in need, while also providing excellent core supports to all schools, providers, and districts. We believe this will lead to increased child outcomes measured importantly not only by test scores, but by factors related to their safety, well-being, access to resources, and experience as a learner and a citizen. I mentioned this already, but we are taking the opportunity afforded us in ESSA to really think about addressing the whole child. And to do this, we need a few things, and you'll hear more about this today through the different presentations. We need a strategic vision about which practices are evidence-based and key in us becoming a 10 in 10 state across all areas of the whole child. So what are the best practices for early childhood? What are the best practices for social emotional? What are the best practices for school culture and climate, for safety, for on and on down the list? We need a good process so district can identify their needs across the whole spectrum. We need to provide guidance and assistance in how we can blend and braid funding streams, train our staff to guide districts through these processes, and reduce the reporting burden where we can so that there's a more streamlined process through grants, comprehensive needs assessments, and reporting. We don't want a one-size-fits-all approach. We want a matching of evidence-based 10 in 10 practices to district-identified needs. I'm going to take a minute and talk about this here, although we'll discuss accountability in greater detail in a later session. I wanted to bring this up because this is one of the important dilemmas we've encountered as we work through the ESSA process. There is an enduring dilemma in terms of poverty and accountability. So on one hand, there is a link, a true link, when you look at education research, when you look at any study, between socioeconomic status and achievement in general, as well as like specifically with proficiency or high scores on assessments. So the end result in accountability is a district with more students who have a higher socioeconomic status, they get a benefit when it comes to test scores or accountability, kind of regardless of their actions. If kids are more likely to already be proficient when they walk in the door, It's less about what's happened to them while they are there. On the other hand, and this is what's, I think, important, the lower achievement, the lower outcomes of students from low socioeconomic status backgrounds is actually a real relationship. The outcomes of students from more impoverished backgrounds is real. So we don't want to ignore that or hide that reality. And also the job of public education is to provide that equal access to opportunities for all students. So we need to be honest about where students aren't achieving, even if part of that is related to poverty or other factors. It's a challenge to figure out what the right reporting mechanism is, while at the same time ensuring transparency and remembering that we started with the child. And what opportunities does the child have, and how do we make sure they're getting them? There's a couple possible solutions. One is to include growth in the accountability system in greater percentages, and we've already been moving in that way. Growth should be less correlated with socioeconomic status or with any other factor, because it's about the child moving within the school year, and that's what something a school can control. Another option is to account for poverty in the actual accountability system. So one way people suggest doing that is you change the actual grade. So if a school would have been a C, but they outperformed their expected, you make them a B. And say, well, you know, this was your actual achievement, but you did better than other schools with similar demographics, so let's bump your grade up. Another option, and this is probably our preferred option at this point in time, is to provide additional labels or reporting showing that a school performed better than their peers. So that we're honest and transparent about where a school performed, and we can get to targeting those resources, targeting those supports, but we also give credit for schools that are doing better and implementing solutions that maybe some other schools aren't. It also helps us share best practices across similar schools. But really, and this is what's most important, I think we often talk a lot about changing the labeling. We talk about changing the diagnostics or not showing the data, but at the end of the day, the data, accountability assessment, and any transparency reporting is only meant to shine a light on what's happening, and we have to get very real about how we support districts and schools. If we continue to simply label low achievement or low growth as low achievement and low growth, labeling it over and over won't change what's going on there. We need to change the way we work with districts and schools, and in particular districts that have that significant set of challenges and risk factors, while still being honest about where the performance of students really lies. So we have a proposed solution, the partnership model. You'll hear some more about it today. But where we work in partnership with districts to craft those individualized solutions that I spoke about earlier to make sure we're using evidence-based practices to meet the needs identified by the district. ESSA provides us with many opportunities. Here are a few. It gives us a chance to create this more cohesive, unified approach to support the whole child. So we want to move away from a more siloed approach and think about all of this on a continuum. The child does not experience, you know, it's not like today they're learning academics and tomorrow they're getting food and nutrition, and on Wednesdays when they're socially, emotionally having challenges. It all happens to them at once. So our programming needs to reflect that. We also, I mentioned this already, but we want to move beyond simply identifying needs and focus on a broader, simply identifying needs through the use of assessment accountability, focus on a broader range of needs, and we'll get into that with the comprehensive needs assessment, but then think about those supports to bring change. We have an opportunity with ESSA to think about how we want to change our assessment accountability systems, and also to identify how we can leverage educators as supports and implement a really aligned approach to the educator pipeline. We want to mention the importance of partners. So I've already talked about the whole child repeatedly. If we are going to truly address the whole child at the state level, the district level, and the school level, we need many partners outside of MDE, outside of education, again, both at the state level and at the local level. So thinking about, quote, non-traditional partners like social workers, counselors, community members, civil rights, school justice organizations, community-based organizations, foundations, employers, and parents of children across the entire continuum of ages, so that when we do the needs assessment and identify the practices, we have a partnership approach to implementing strategies that will lead to change. ESSA also gives us an opportunity, as well as a requirement, for government-to-government consultation with Michigan's 12 tribal nations. So we have started on that process. They've signed a consultation agreement with us. This is a historic moment or chance for us to do this government-to-government consultation with the tribal nations, and we're excited about that opportunity. So we have a few goals with this forum. We want to present, and it's content heavy because we've all been working very hard, you've all been working very hard to figure out many factors of many areas, and so today you'll see the compiled ideas from the 10 and 10 listening tour, the vision committees, the action teams, the first round of feedback, and all of our ongoing discussions. One thing I want to signal is we're having these feedback forums while discussions are still happening, and so we'll present information and everybody's engaging with it. So there's a lot of information out there right now, and that's good. It's an ongoing iterative process where everybody's talking about these topics and we're trying to have this collective conversation around it. And then we specifically want to ask for feedback both generally and then in some targeted areas. So you'll have a chance to ask us questions. We have some big goals for feedback. And then, like I said, we will post any questions that we don't get to here in our online FAQ. A couple big ideas that I hope that we talk about today. The role of poverty in education, appropriate responses in the accountability system, and how the supports can impact that. Subgroups, how we focus on subgroups appropriately within the accountability system, but importantly in the supports provided. How we think about our statewide system of support, the way we support comprehensive and targeted schools, you'll hear more about that. Refocusing our efforts around educator quality through opportunities in Title II, we have a whole section on that. And then this whole child, the processes and how we can get there through partnerships. I referenced this briefly already, but I want to revisit this. The federal context is interesting right now. So as I said, US Ed put out its final regulations, but with the recent presidential election, there is certainly some ambiguity around exactly what is going to happen with ESSA. And there's a lot of speculation. And that's where it sits right now, ambiguity and speculation. We don't know. So there's also discussions within our state over our timelines. And like I said, they just announced yesterday that we have another month before the first submission anyway. And in the meantime, our State Board of Education had also said, well, do we want to take more time? Regardless, we are moving forward with our timeline. We're moving forward with our plan. We may have more time for discussions or for writing or to really dig into a few pieces that are left, but we have always built this plan to support the 10 and 10, not to address federal regulations. And we know it's important to move forward with these ideas because focusing on Michigan's children, focusing on our partnerships, focusing on our supports is something we need to do regardless of some of the technicalities around the federal law. So there is a lot of ambiguity, but Michigan is moving forward. We're not going to be a 10 and 10 state, top 10 state in 10 years if we wait around for things to sort themselves out at the federal level. So we will keep marching forward. And with that, we conclude this first portion, and we'll be back in 10 minutes at 9:30. Thank you.